Good morning, it's today again. Welcome back to Joseph's Reserves. I'm Joseph and I store 20% of my income in the form of rare coins and precious metals. I get paid every Thursday, which means that's when I buy. And today's Friday, so that means I have a new purchase to show you. I'm going to show you that purchase and talk to you about why one of my focuses right now is fractional silver. Congratulations to Just Mike for getting to my comment section first in my last video. Thank you for the support. Y'all go find him down below to start a conversation. And if you haven't seen that video yesterday, it's definitely a good one to watch. And before I bring up what I purchased, I'm going to be going over the stack that I already have. This is all of my fractional rounds, and we're going to start with my deep stack. The deep stack are things like date runs or just pieces that I find incredibly cool that I have a little bit of emotion towards. This deep stack I track differently, and that way it's so that I can separate them, sometimes physically, but mostly in my tracking sheets, so that I understand what silver I have to sell or trade with. So when it comes to fractionals, I really like the Perth Mint Lunar Years. These are all half-ounce size. I'm planning on making the entire series in these half-ounce silvers. I'm not sure why I picked half-ounce. I think it's just these are the ones that were at the shop when I wanted to buy them, so this is what I have. I have these four, which include two of my dragons. I'm wanting to get the full collection of the dragons. If you've been following me for any time, you know that I have those 5-ounce dragons, which I might have to upgrade to 10-ounce because I found out that the Series 1 of the Australian Lunar Years did not come out in 5-ounce. So I'll eventually be upgrading those to 10 ounces, but that's a topic for another video. I also really like this half-ounce dolphin. It's honestly not a high premium coin by any means, but I just really like it. There's also these 3/4 ounce Canadian animal portrait series. I would like to have the full date run of these, so again, just another really cool coin that I want to collect. But moving on from here, next I actually have some coins that are in my deep stack, not because I like them or they're cool, but actually because they're disappointing. These 20-gram rounds are not marked as silver or even by the weight. They are actually these commemorative kind of vintage coins that my wife actually inherited from her grandfather. His collection was full of these commemorative, mostly copper nickel coins, but these ones are actually 20 grams of silver. When he bought them, he was paying well over the full ounce price for these. So unfortunately, these have kind of turned into a high premium item within my stack. Even at today's prices, I would just barely be breaking even on them for my grandfather-in-law. But because they came from his collection, they're probably something I'm never going to sell. But again, it is a little bit disappointing. This is a History of America actually produced by Liberia. So these are really interesting pieces. They do technically have a lower mintage of only about 2,000 per design, and there are all kinds of designs that they made. I think like 16 or 20 different designs. However, I don't believe anyone's out there trying to put together a collection of these things, so it's just a really interesting coin that I'm not sure what I'm going to do with. So to contrast the deep stack, we now have the surface stack. So the surface stack is just the bulk weight. That's the stuff that I'm going to be tracking just by how many coins there are, not really the specific date or what part of a collection it is. This is literally just an amount of weight. And this is great for setting goals. For me personally, I'm trying to get 100 ounces in just fractional silver. And you could really start anywhere with that. You can make it your first 20 ounces in fractional, or even just filling one tube of 10 ounces like I did with these halves. Having a surface stack of low emotional connected silver is extremely important. This is the type of silver that you would have in case of an emergency or to cover some sort of surprise bill or any sort of situation where you might be needing to sell a large amount of your stack, even like the example of a trade. You're not going to be wanting to trade a piece that you're hugely connected to unless it's another piece you're going to be even more so connected to. So trading deep stack to deep stack or surface stack to surface stack for the example of trading some silver into gold or platinum or whatever kind of trade you're going to be doing. Either way, fractional silver is one of the most practical and misunderstood areas of stacking, especially for people who are either just getting started or trying to build consistently without putting large amounts of money into the market all at once. When most people think about stacking silver, they picture 1 ounce rounds, big bars, or even larger bulk purchases. But fractional silver quietly solves a lot of the problems that can come up with those larger formats, and it does so in a way that makes stacking more flexible, accessible, and often more consistent over time. At its core, fractional silver simply means any piece of silver that is less than 1 troy ounce. This can include the standard half ounce, quarter ounce, and 10-ounce rounds, and even the odd weights like the 20 grams or 10 grams. It can even go as low as 1 grain, which takes 480 to make up 1 ounce. It often overlaps with what some people call junk silver or constitutional silver. That's the pre-1965 US dimes, quarters, and half dollars that were minted of 90% silver. Even though those coins aren't pure silver, they still function as fractional pieces because they represent a small divisible amount of silver weight. So, when you really look at it, fractional silver isn't just one category. It's a whole range of different formats that serve the same purpose, breaking down silver into smaller, usable units. One of the biggest advantages of fractional silver is accessibility. Not everyone has the ability or desire to buy multiple ounces of silver all at once, especially when prices are elevated or so volatile like they are now. Fractional pieces allow you to participate in the market at a much lower entry point. Instead of waiting until you have enough money saved up for a full ounce or more, you can buy a smaller increment that makes it easy to stay in steady progress. This is especially important for people who are dollar cost averaging like myself, because it allows you to stay consistent regardless of what the price is doing. You're not sitting on the sidelines waiting for the perfect moment, you're just stacking. That consistency is where fractional silver really shines. Over time, small purchases add up in a big way that most people don't expect. A few 1/10 ounce rounds here and a couple half ounces there, maybe some 90% silver mixed in, and before you know it, you've built a meaningful position without ever making a large, intimidating purchase. This approach also removes a lot of the emotional pressure that comes with stacking. You're not trying to time the market. You're not worried about whether or not you bought at the exact right moment. You're simply buying and building over time, and that long-term mindset tends to produce better results than trying to time and make perfect decisions in the short term. Another major benefit to fractional silver is the flexibility. When your stack is made up of smaller units, you have far more control of how you use it. If you ever need to sell or trade, you're not forced into moving full ounces or multiple ounces at once. You can break it into smaller amounts and maintain the rest of your position. This especially becomes valuable in uncertain situations where liquidity matters. Smaller pieces are often easier to move, easier to price, and for other people easier to understand in transaction settings. In a way, fractional silver behaves more like real money than larger bars do, simply because they're easy to divide and use. That said, there are some trade-offs, and it's really important to understand. Fractional silver typically comes with a higher premium per ounce compared to the full ounce or larger bars. You're paying more for the convenience of the smaller units. For example, 10 1/10 ounce rounds will almost always be more expensive than one full ounce. 90% silver is typically a way to get around this. However, 90% also has its own considerations. From a pure weight perspective, this makes fractional silver less efficient, but efficiency isn't always the goal. The added costs can be justified by the flexibility, accessibility, and consistency that fractional pieces can provide. There's also a strategic element to how fractional silver fits in a broader stack. A lot of experienced stackers don't just rely on one type of silver. Instead, they build a layered approach. Large bars, 1 ounce rounds, and fractional silver all serve their purpose. It's just like if you didn't have a debit card and you were trying to stack your wallet full of cash for an entire week or month's worth of expenses. If we were in a world where there was no change given back or very little change given back, you wouldn't just carry around a bunch of $100 bills. You might carry around a few, maybe a few 20s, but mostly 10s, 5s, and 1s. If this ever becomes something you'll have to spend, that could become very important. Fractional silver also opens the door to variety within a stack. Simply because they're smaller pieces, it's easier to mix in different designs, different mints, even different historical or artistic pieces without committing to a large amount of money in a single item. This is where stacking can start to feel more personal, and rather than just accumulating the metal, you're starting to build something that reflects you, your interests, and your preferences. Whether that means sticking to the clean, uniform rounds or adding unique pieces with historical inspiration, fractional silver gives you the flexibility to just do both. In the end, fractional silver is less about maximizing the efficiency and more about maximizing participation. It allows you to stay consistent, stay flexible, and stay engaged, all while steadily building your stack over time. For some people, it becomes the core of their strategy, and for others, it's supporting pieces that complements the larger purchases. But in either case, it plays an important role. It turns stacking from something that requires big decisions into something that can be done regularly, almost automatically. And over the long run, that consistency will often make the biggest difference. And now we can actually get to my pickup this week. So you'll see here I got 19 1/10 ounce rounds and this pretty cool coin here that I'm going to show you. This is a 26-gram piece of silver that I picked up, and it's one of the most interesting types of modern silver because it sits right in the intersection of bullion and numismatic art. This one was inspired by the famous Spanish cob coin recovered by, and forgive my pronunciation, but the Nuestra Senora de Atocha. It was a ship that sank in 1622 carrying massive amounts of these Spanish silver cob coins from the Americas. The original cob coins were hand-struck, irregularly shaped, and some of these pieces are even made in that almost crude appearance style. This specific round was designed by Daniel Carr. He's a well-known figure in the numismatic world. He's the founder of the Moonlight Mint and especially recognized for creating highly detailed fantasy coins, overstrikes, and historically inspired designs. Carr actually worked as an engraver in the U.S. Mint early in his career, contributing to real coin designs before moving on to his private minting business. These coins were intentionally between 18 and 28 grams to align closely with the historic weight of these 8 reality cobs, which is the foundation of global trade and even influenced the creation of the US dollar. These modern replicas aren't official legal tender, but they're struck in a high purity 3/9 fine silver and carry a niche collector appeal. As far as mintage, Carr's Moonlight mint pieces are often produced in very small batches, sometimes in the dozens or lower hundreds. I did find one document that would suggest only 19 pieces were made with this specific dye variety and finish. However, it did say mintage so far, so it seems like that might have just been a document that was not yet updated. In a stack, this kind of piece adds something unique. It's still silverweight, but it carries some artistic value, some historic inspiration, and a low mintage appeal, which gives it some potential to possibly command a little bit of premium beyond melt sometime in the future. So now we get to take a look at the 19 1/10 ounce rounds that I picked up in addition to that 26-gram chunk of silver. These 19 pieces actually gets my fractional silver stack to 28.95 ounces. I'm working towards 100 ounces of these small pieces of silver, and actually seeing it all laid out like this, it feels a lot closer than I thought. I still have about 71 ounces to go, but I didn't think I was even this close at all. Within these new 19 pieces, I have 8 different designs that I'm going to show you here in a second, and this is just another fantastic part of stacking 1/10-ounce silver rounds, the variety. Overall, this is just a reminder that you don't need to make massive purchases to build a meaningful stack. A consistent schedule lowers your stress, removes the emotion, and keeps you in the market longer. And that leads to a larger stack over time, even without the pressure of every single purchase being either large or timed perfectly. If you're stacking fractional silver or thinking about starting, let me know what your strategy looks like, and I'll keep you updated on my goal of 100 ounces. I just made my own line of coffee. Joseph's Reserves It's Today Again coffee. Most mornings aren't dramatic. They're quiet. You wake up, pour yourself a cup, and now you have a choice. Drift through the day or take hold of what's in front of you. That's really what this whole thing's about. Showing up, building good habits, staying disciplined in the small things. Whether that's stacking consistently, learning something new, or just being faithful with what you've been given. I put these words on every bag to remind myself first. Every morning is a gift. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, today. So take a breath, take a sip, and let's get to work. It's today again. You can now write me at Joseph's Reserves, 10160 Highway 242, Suite 800, number 401 in Conroe, Texas, zip code 77385. Make sure to include your information so I can write you back. If you like this video, make sure to go down and give it a thumbs up. Go into the comment section to reconnect with those that you've met along this journey of stacking and watching other YouTube channels. If you know anyone that might like this video, please share it with them and subscribe if you haven't already. But most of all, thank you so much for watching. And just remember, every ounce adds up. So no matter how small, just keep stacking.